The upcoming session for day 2 are going to be around various other industries, because AI, just like the internet, how at one point internet affected every single business. And of course, way back, we reached a point where every business had a website. Every business need to be connected through mobile phones, through numbers. Similarly, AI is also going to be playing that part. So therefore, there is no business sector that is left untouched. We have on stage Mr. Madan and Mr. Alexander. I request Mr. Madan, our host, to kindly welcome Mr. Alexander with a memento of the Rajasthan DigiFest and the 10th TiE Global Summit. As we all know, these summits, these platforms are a manifestation of the digital India vision of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. And in Rajasthan, we are very grateful for the leadership of Shri Bhajanlal Sharma ji, our Honorable Chief Minister, for making it all happen. With that, I give it over to our host and speaker. And for those who are with us, I just want to make sure that we are not just spaced into or dozed out into our screens. We should be attentive, as Dr. Ajay also mentioned, that if we are attentive, we would get some pearls of wisdom. So can I hear a loud round of applause for our speaker on stage? Thank you.
Welcome. Good afternoon, everybody. Namaskar. Namaste. Good afternoon. Okay, guys, this probably will be the most important session of learnings that you could take that will make the difference between your startup just being an also-ran to the dizzying heights that one can see the potential of a startup. So all the folks who are right at the back, you have 3 minutes to come into the audience, to the rows of the seats that are there. Opportunities like this don't come often, and I'm very, very pleased to invite Alex Osterwalder to be with us today. Alex has flown all the way from Switzerland to be with us. He is featured in the Thinkers 50 globally, an author, a teacher, a strategist, consults with global giants around the world. And he is the inventor and the co-inventor of a model that we all use, the business model canvas. Truly a pleasure to have you with us, Alex. Thank you so much for coming in from the colder regions of Switzerland to cold Jaipur.
Thank you very much. Awesome to be here.
Thank you. So without further ado, let us get Alex to share his thoughts. He has a brief presentation on the topic of today, innovation in the age of disruption. And Alex, over to you.
It looks like AI is already doing my presentation. The slides are automatically advancing.
Automatically coming up.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about disruption a bit, but not just startups, but when you become a company, what changes and how you can remain a startup. Let's see if this actually works. So who of you has ever heard of the business model canvas? Okay, so a couple of you, some standing up there, great. So we invented that almost 20 years ago, and obviously that's just one tool. And entrepreneurship is more complex than one tool. And we learned a lot. Now, in the little time we have, I'll share some of the lessons. We created other tools. Most of my time, I actually work with large companies like L'Oreal and Unilever and stuff like that. But the thing that we're doing now is we're trying to give away, to a certain extent, everything we've learned, all the processes on a platform with AI and so on, because I believe these things can be learned and democratized. So I want to, really get us to use these tools in a better way. So clicker doesn't seem, does work. if you take the business model canvas, again, just one of the tools, it's still very relevant, but when we look at how people use it, it's still not very good. So the process, everything we learned, we tried to make it accessible with what we call playbooks. Now, what I want us to do, if the non-AI clicker allows me to, I want to look at three things. How disruption happens, why can't organizations, existing ones, embrace disruption, and how can startups kind of use that more? And then the playbook in general for new ideas. But what I want us to start with is a small exercise. So all of you have to do some work. Who of you is willing to do some work? Hands up. Okay. You're going to have to do something that's going to feel a little bit weird if you do not have paper and pen. If you have paper and pen, it's going to be easy. So you're going to have to use your imagination. What I want us to do is a small exercise, and the exercise is all about drawing. It's a very short drawing exercise. So those of you, again, the clicker doesn't really work, but that's fine. For those of you who have paper, take a piece of paper. For those of you who don't have paper, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and imagine you're drawing something, okay? And those who do not do the exercise are going to miserably fail in all of their future business ventures. Okay, we're Swiss, I'm Swiss, we're not very good at humor. So, I'm going to take this idea of Saint-Exupéry. I want you, for those of you who have paper, I want you to draw in 5 seconds a small house. Everybody else, close your eyes and imagine drawing a small house in 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stop and keep your eyes closed. Next exercise. For another 5 seconds, I want you to decorate the house and the surroundings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now for those of you who have drawn a house, look at it. For those of you who imagined the house, take a snapshot in your head. Now open your eyes and tell me if you have drawn something like this, a house with a pointy roof, a chimney, and a tree beside it, maybe hands up. Okay, who of you has drawn something radically different? Radically different. Okay, and before you say yes, not a fence, not a sun, not a tree, that's all the same. Has anybody drawn something radically different, like an igloo or a tree house? Radically different? Okay, so one person, something radically different. Here's the thing, maybe two. I need to see the evidence. You're a bit far away. The stage is very removed. So here's the thing. We have a mental model in our house, in our head. And the mental model is, in our company, we do work like this. In startups, this is how people should do software as a service. We are locked in by mental models. And the cool thing about entrepreneurship is entrepreneurs break out of the mental models. Anybody remember who invented Airbnb? Brian Chesky. Nobody ever thought that's possible. Brian Chesky and the team broke out of the mental model, okay? Now you can hate Elon Musk, you can love Elon Musk. He broke out of the mental model of the entire car industry. So let me ask, who of you likes German cars? German cars. They're pretty cool, right? But German car manufacturers had such a blocked mental model that they couldn't break out. They still can't break out. So my prediction is probably half of the German car manufacturers are going to go bankrupt. Maybe the government can save them. So this is an opportunity for startups, in particular in the age of AI, to break out of mental models. Now, before we go into this idea of startups and inventing, I want to show you why large companies can't embrace disruption, or established ones, not just large ones, and how they're different from startups, okay? So, Who of you has heard of Steve Blank? Steve Blank invented the lean startup methodology with customer development. We had a conversation this summer, and he told me about this phenomenon that in the US, there were 4,000 wagon manufacturers in the 1900s. 4,000. 4,000, okay? The question is, how many of these wagon manufacturers, 4,000 companies, have become a car company? Anybody know? With your show of hands, would you say, who would say more than 100? Hands up. Okay, who would say more than 10 of 4,000? Okay, it's reasonable, right? Who would say more than 5? Who would say 0? Oh, you're very pessimistic. It was 1. It was 1. But so the question is, what happened? So let's have a look at this. Studebaker was the only one. Now, what happened there, and it's the same that's going to happen with AI, the first one is, all of these wagon manufacturers misjudged the adoption curve because cars were a luxury toy for rich people and is not a business plan. The first task is to figure out what do customers care about and what does the business model look like. That's a search process. And when you found that, then you scale and you become a manager, okay? These two worlds are very different. This startup world here is messy. You search, you fail a lot. You have to throw away the house with the pointy roof. You have to invent things that haven't existed. Once you found a business model, it's all about order, process, clean. And that's good. But the problem is, once you have clean processes, you forgot how to throw away the house with the pointy roof. Who's ever seen that? Hands up. So the challenge is for a startup entrepreneur to put in place process and for a business to become an entrepreneur again. You see the world? We call this exploration and exploitation. And now you understand why is disruption such a phenomenon, because startups have to become process-oriented to scale, and established companies have to become a bit more chaotic to reinvent, but there are processes for that. So this is the whole universe of reinvention, okay? Now, let me finish with the last piece and then we'll have a conversation. The last piece is, you know what? There are playbooks for each one of these phases. There are playbooks to start a company, we can learn that, and there are playbooks to reinvent yourself. So I'm just going to show you how not to do it in disruption, because there are companies that wanted to disrupt, but they made a mistake. They thought their vision is great, but their vision was just a hallucination. So let me give you an example. Who of you has heard of Forward Health? Anybody heard of Forward Health? Forward Health had this idea of the autonomous doctor's practice. No nurses, no admin, just machines and patients who interact with the machines. What happened? There were no nurses, there were no admins, but there were also no patients. Okay, that's not a good business model. So they built this. They built this and nobody came. So then they said, we're going to pivot. Silicon Valley word, pivot. So they pivoted to autonomous care pods in shopping malls. Investors gave them $100 million to pivot with no evidence. What happened? Shopping malls, a lot of people, nobody went into the care pods. So they failed. How much money do you think you can burn with a startup that has a phenomenal disruptive vision and builds something without testing? $650 million, okay? Now, I know we're in the age of AI. If you don't lose $1 billion, you're not really a real entrepreneur anymore. Making a bad joke here, okay, that's... So the question is, why did this happen? Did they have a CEO who's never done this before? Well, it turns out their CEO was an experienced manager from Google who was in love with technology. So we actually need to stay humble and go back to business fundamentals. How are we creating value? So if you look at this, we go into this phase where yes, we have a great idea, great business model, great value proposition, but we need to test everything. How do you actually test things? Well, very simple, you run experiments to test desirability, not feasibility, and from the beginning, viability. Can we make money? And we test, we experiment. Okay, this is the whole lean startup process. So now, what's the simplest thing to do? To talk to customers. How many here in the room are engineers? Engineers, hands up. Okay, engineers, what happens when you give engineers a lot of money, like $650 million? What happens? You build something, right? You build something. So what we need to force people to do is actually go back to business fundamentals. Test your ideas. So what we did is we said, the playbook is very simple. The playbook is shape your idea, sketch out a customer profile, test the customer profile with interviews, and go and lessons learn and adapt. That's one of the several playbooks you need to use when you do a startup. So we took this. This is a concept that some of you know. Who of you has heard of the value proposition canvas? Let's use that one as well. Okay, so this is a customer profile. We said, let's turn this into an app, a playbook on our platform. With AI, obviously, you can do this very fast, okay? And then the next step is, well, you go and need to do the interviews. So AI should generate the interviews for you so you don't have to do it on your own. And then the next step is, it should analyze these things for you. So that's what we started to do with these playbooks. So at the end of the day, it's actually pretty straightforward. If we want to be ready for disruption as an entrepreneur to take advantage, or as a business to reinvent ourselves, there are 3 business fundamentals that didn't change, ever. Whatever disruption, and they will not change, and we heard that in the session before, 3 things. The first one is very silly. It's how do we create value for customers? Now, we work with a big company called Honeywell, so this is public knowledge, and we run their growth symposiums. So their CTO, Suresh, brought us in, and you have these people who put satellites into this space. But what we need to train them to do is to put customer value first. So it's not about the complexity of the solution and the features. We need to get them to make explicit how they create value for customers. Second thing we need to do is to iterate until we find a profitable and scalable business model. And once we have a company, we need to reinvent ourselves. So the fundamentals of business never change. So what we tried to do with Strategyzer, with my company, is try to make these playbooks accessible and give, kind of almost in quotes, give away these playbooks. So just some thoughts on disruption, and I hope you learned a little bit and had fun with the drawing exercise.
Fantastic. Wow, Alex, that was like drinking out of a fire hose. Why don't we think outside the box, and maybe we will stand up and get some more energy from the group. And
Yes.
I love the way that you're animated, walking around was filling us with a lot of energy and thoughts. So fascinating. I was just going through my own journey as an entrepreneur. 25 years ago, I co-founded a company which started out as India's first skills assessments and people testing company which never existed in India. I was just going through the journey of exploration and exploitation. I was also looking at working, as at TiE, we work with a lot of entrepreneurs and you get thrown a lot of jargons.
Yes.
So what I thought I will do to make it a little bit more fun and interesting is, I will share some of the common jargons that we hear. I'm sure you're also, victim of those jargons.
Yes, yes.
And I just want you to frame from an entrepreneurial standpoint.
Yes.
What is the underlying meaning and how do you really demystify that jargon? But before that, how did you stumble on this business model canvas itself? So what business model canvas did you use to arrive at the business model canvas?
So the whole thing started, actually wasn't started by me. It was started by a business school professor called Yves Pigneur, who's a good friend now. We wrote a couple of books together, okay? So Yves said he has all these engineers coming to him from the technological school, and they all show a business plan.
All right.
And he thought, like, business plans are so static, but entrepreneurship is so dynamic. Something's wrong.
Right.
So his idea originally was, could we create computer-aided design for entrepreneurs? And then we had to come up with a model, so this was part of that journey. So it all started with the idea, can we create something more dynamic, and the business model canvas is more synthesized than a 40-page business plan.
Wonderful. Yeah, I love I'd never seen the framing that way of desirability, feasibility, and viability.
Yes,
I think
yes.
that simplifies it to a large extent, right? So we talked about customers.
Yes.
And sometimes, the first slide that I see, which kind of sometimes put me off, is this Tam Sam Som.
Yes.
Right? It sounds like a Korean word, Tam Sam Som or something like that, right?
Yes.
But what is your view? And if I'm an entrepreneur looking for a customer, and a customer pain point to solve, should I be worried at all about the Tam Sam Som?
So I'll be provocative.
Yeah.
That is BS.
Okay.
Different jargon. Now here's why. So here's why.
Right.
Because when you have an idea, it's a fantasy.
Right.
Okay? So I can make up whatever Tam Sam Sim Sum that you want, okay? It's easy.
Yeah.
That's the easy part. The hard part is bottom up,
to buy,
bottom up to show, okay, I can find 10 people who have that problem.
Absolutely.
Now you still have to have the problem of going into a scalable market, but you know what? Most people don't know. So think back, I mentioned Airbnb at the beginning. So they could come up with whatever large size. They didn't know if it was going to work, and the investors actually didn't believe them. Nobody gave them money for a very long time. So the first thing they had to do is actually just start proving. So I think it's okay to do those things, to map them out. I actually love spreadsheets, but we have to admit those are all fantasies. The hard work is going into the field and proving before you build something that customers care. Do you see what I mean? Absolutely. So it's very bottom up. Jobs, pains, gains.
Absolutely. I think Professor Saras Saraswati, the leading entrepreneurial researcher who wrote the seminal paper, Why Entrepreneurs Think Entrepreneurially, she makes a point saying that, forget about all that, find me 10 customers who are willing to trust you and pay you money to solve the problem they have. If you do that, then you have a winner. Right? So, which brings you to the other point about MVP. Right? What does MVP mean to you, and how should entrepreneurs think about that?
Okay, so let me show you how to test a simple business idea, not just by asking people, but by getting some evidence.
Right.
Okay, so we're working on these playbooks and new books around exciting new topics. Would you be interested if we launch this?
Yeah, it looks,
okay, so
looks cool,
sounds interesting, looks cool. Okay, now that's easy to say yes. But now let me try a different thing. We're going to write a new book on better meetings by using these kind of tools. So would you buy that book for $30? A new book on great business meetings made with all these tools, and so would you be up for buying something like that?
$30.
$30?
Not sure.
No?
Yeah.
Okay, so how much would you pay?
Maybe I'll...
10?
10?
10 is good.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's still just telling me 10. Now give me $10, please, because you said you're interested, but I want to see evidence.
Oh shoot, Alex, I forgot my wallet in the hotel room, right? Can I give you later? Can I use the product and pay you later?
So you can see he doesn't want this book. But so what we get entrepreneurs to do is very quickly show willingness to pay with stronger evidence.
Exactly.
What people say is light evidence. What people do is strong evidence. Now let me give you a different example quickly, which is not about payment, but people, like how do you get more evidence? So a software company that was making software for medical surgery. Okay, so they went to the surgeons, they talked to the surgeons all said, yes, we're interested. So they said, oh great, I did the lean startup thing, I tested. But they just said yes. So you don't know.
Yeah.
How can I get stronger evidence? What could I do? Now, you can't ask them for money because you'll have to go to jail because there's strong regulation in the medical sector. So what they thought is, what is a strong piece of evidence? The trust from the hospital administrator who has all the money. So they said, okay, you're now the hospital administrator. We're going to write a letter of recommendation, and the surgeon needs to sign the letter of recommendation that they would buy this software if it was made, and the letter is signed to the hospital administrator. So there's nothing legally binding, but it's much stronger than just words. So the entrepreneur and innovator needs to prove their idea could work before they build anything.
Beautifully said.
And AI makes it easier to make prototypes, which might even be worse, right? But
it's so beautifully said. What you're saying reminds me of my marketing professor who was teaching us about sales funnel.
yes,
He says a sales funnel is not what you do, but what the customer does.
yes, exactly.
It's not about saying, oh, I sent out 50 proposals,
yes,
but to say how many of those 50 proposals are
yes,
open,
yes,
right? And not saying I met
Yes.
10 meetings.
Yes.
What happened? What did the customer do
Yes.
after the meeting? So what
Yes.
you're trying to say is it's not that you went and talked to 10 people.
yes.
What
exactly.
actions are they willing to take
Yes,
for your product that defines the MVP?
yes. And mostly you fail, you get it wrong at the beginning, and that's okay.
Exactly.
So failure is just the fact of what happens to entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
So, you know the great Mike Tyson quote, the philosopher Mike Tyson. Who's heard of the philosopher Mike Tyson? Who's heard of the boxer Mike Tyson? It's the
Same
same
guy, same
person,
guy.
okay? It's the same person. So Mike Tyson likes to say, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? Okay.
Exactly, yeah.
These days it's
Yeah,
more...
strategy goes for a toss. As long as the first bullet is fired, that's when everything
Exactly,
goes wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a very powerful thing, and I just move on to the next one about,
Yeah.
you know, we keep talking about disruptions and change is the only constant,
Yes.
which is true, but you just gave us a peek of that.
Yes.
How do I continuously keep
Yes.
track of the change that's happening, and how do I reflect that
Yes.
into the business model
Yes.
to kind of make sense of it?
So change is the only constant. That's not actually true. Is it a constant? Yes. But they're fundamental business topics that do not change. And what you need to master is the processes that never change. Okay? So what will never change is that customers will not pay for something that doesn't create value.
Right.
So the process, mastering the process of understanding
Customer needs.
how can I quickly create something and iterate to create value, that is what great entrepreneurs intuitively do. And now the best entrepreneurs, they do this with the tools. So you are ready for change when you master the business fundamentals that never change. So do you see what I mean? So I think we undereducate. We undereducate people on the business fundamentals, and we overeducate people on the glitzy stuff.
Exactly.
AI, yay!
Yeah.
Is AI a game changer? Yes. Is it going to change a lot of things? Yes. Is it going to change that we need to create value for customers and see what they're going to pay for? No.
Which is
It's a constant.
That's a constant.
So it sounds silly, but our processes are not geared to the business fundamentals. Yeah.
Absolutely makes sense. Yeah, in the interest of time,
Yes.
you know, one of the words I had was pivot till you showed that whole thing going up in smoke.
Yes.
Now again, pivot.
Yes.
We get that word
Yes.
very often.
Yes.
So when somebody says I pivoted, what does that truly
Yes.
should mean?
Yes. So, what it should not be is what I did a lot in my life, is pivoting either too early, burning too much money, or not pivoting at all. So pivot is simply changing aspects of your value proposition of your business model. And when you call it a pivot, it's generally a radical change to a new customer segment, to a new business model, okay? Now, the whole point is that you pivot in a cheap way. So the pivot that we've seen from Forward Health was a Hail Mary. It was kind of the last thing they tried.
Right.
They should have done a ton of things before. So you pivot early on, and the more you go on, the less you should pivot. So it's like this. Remember that graphic, idea to business. In the first week, you should pivot 100 times. In the first month, you should pivot maybe, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times. Let's put it to the 3 months.
Right.
And then in the first year, you should probably maximum pivot to 1 time. Normally, you should already have figured it out. Do you see what I mean? So
Yep.
the density of pivots gets less and less because you learn so much. So it's the learning velocity, the speed of learning that needs to be very high at the beginning. And the more you learn, the more you know. So that's the way I would look at pivot.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Yeah.
You already talked about AI, but AI is the other word, or whatever, the 2 letters that we yet heard. How should entrepreneurs use AI most effectively
Yes.
to kind of to figure this process out?
Yeah. So who of you today is substantially using AI for entrepreneurship? Hands up. Not necessarily in the product, but in the process, right?
Yeah.
So what I believe beyond what could be in a product in the business model, you can do things much faster. So what I showed you, you can very quickly make customer profiles. You can very quickly do interviews. I believe there's value in talking to people, but I also believe that probably within a couple of months, we're going to have AI agents who interview people, and you'll have data within hours,
Yep.
okay, which is great, but it doesn't replace one or the other. Then making prototypes. So I just got one of our coaches who said, oh, we're working with a pharmaceutical company. Instead of getting developers to develop AI, we actually get the team to develop a solution. The team made a prototype. These are people who never did software development. Within a week, they made a great prototype. So it's going to help go much faster. And it's going to help companies probably not have to rely on the IT department anymore. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
In the interest of winging it, I know we've been doing this very, very naturally, spontaneously, and we haven't had a chance to discuss it. So let me just end it with saying, listen, I'm sure you'll be hearing a lot of entrepreneurs come and pitch and elevator pitches and what that. You know, I just want to role play like you did and say, if I'm an entrepreneur and I were to come to you and say, give you a 30-second elevator pitch. I want you to tell me what is right or wrong, and if you were that entrepreneur, how would you tell somebody what you do? Because that's a typical conversation now, right? Hey,
what I do.
Yeah, what you would do. So if I were to tell you, listen, Alex, I'm an entrepreneur.
Okay.
I'm building a product that's got AI and machine learning and all that, and I'm using it to help small businesses increase their sales, right? So if a similar pitch, if you were to hear a pitch like that, or if you were to be an entrepreneur who's making that pitch, what would you ensure that the pitch certainly has for the first 30 seconds or a minute?
So it depends who you're pitching to.
Yeah, I mean, assuming that you're pitching to an investor.
So it depends what type of investor.
Okay.
Let's take world-class investors who do not believe in business plans, okay? So people overestimate the idea. Ideas don't matter.
Perfect.
Ideas are everywhere. Ideas are cheap. 1,000 people have the same ideas. So the only thing I would want to see, people come to me and show me a business model canvas. I don't care. What I tell them is, show me the evidence. Okay, at early stage, how many customers have you talked to? Maybe a bit further on, how are you growing? What is the revenue growth and why? Show me the evidence. So make the evidence support the idea. So don't pitch the idea, pitch the evidence that supports the idea. What are you seeing today that supports the idea? Ideas do not matter, okay?
Wonderful. I don't think we could have ended on a much better note. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause to Alex for the conversations and the wonderful work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for the conversation. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for that thought-provoking session. And also, I would like to request all our visitors to kindly fill the front rows first. The ones who are sitting towards the back rows, could you please come a little in front? This would make the room look a bit more consolidated.